we're here. Hi there. This is live now. Hi. Good morning. This is Dev Brew. Yeah, you're here for live Dev Brew. I got my coffee over here. Got some cold brew. Today we're talking about a game called Operation Steel by Undermog Games. First of all, let's get the intro out of the way, man. This is Dev Brew, so welcome to Dev Brew. This is where indie developers submit their games, and I do my best to give feedback on their game design. That's what we're going to be doing here. So I've got the game all loaded up over here. I'm just going to be playing the gameplay that I had before, and you can see it right here. And oh no, it's playing on my speakers over here. Let me just turn this down. There we go. Okay, so if you're wondering where I am right here. Let's see, my audio's good. So yeah, we're going to talk about this game today. We're going to talk about Operation Steel. Now, Operation Steel is a shmup. That's what it is. Yeah, a shoot 'em up game. This is actually one of my favorite types of games, a favorite genre of games. I don't play a lot of them, but I like them a lot. I've always liked going into the arcade when I was a kid to play a lot of vertical shmups. So some of my favorites, I think, was 1944 and Sonic Wings, I think. Yeah, pretty interesting, really interesting genre. They're also known, I think, as bullet hells, or at least some genres of shmups are called bullet hell. And this one is a little bit different. This one is about, it has some roguelike elements to it. So yeah, so we're going to be talking about this. So what is it that you can expect from this stream here? What it is I'm talking directly to the developer here. So I'm talking to Undermog Games. This is for that person. We're going to be talking about the game design and basically, yeah, reviewing about what it was that you had here and how you can make it better if what you're trying to do, didn't do what you wanted it to. So yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about here is just the idea of design in general, the idea of design before gameplay. So there's a lot of people I think that can look at something like me or other critique or other critics that talk about game design, right? And they'll say, we can't design a game completely start to finish and then make it like that. That seems impossible, and that's because that is impossible. That's not what this is about. We're not going to talk about game design and then, as a whole, and then be like, okay, now make the perfect game. It's not about that. So as all art is about, it's about iteration, right? So what we have is you make a game, right? You make something that you feel like you need to get out, do something that you want to do. Oh, wow, that shop is completely cut off. That's stupid. Oh well. Anyway, so I wanted to make sure that my gameplay is still good. So what were we talking about? Right. So it's not about. It's more about iteration all the time. Every design is about iteration. So you do what you want first. Do something that you feel like is good in a game. Make that game. Then come back, play test it, and see if it's doing what you want it to do. And if it's not, then start tweaking. And so this right here is the tweaking process. I just realized this gameplay is like pretty cropped. I'm sorry about that. You can find the game yourself, by the way, in the link in the description here. So, all right, so let's talk about this. So the first thing that this person wanted, this Undermog Games, when they submitted this game to me, they had a little note, as I always ask for people to include some notes on their game. And one of the things that they wanted to deliver in this game was a fun, replayable experience. Now, when that kind of note is pretty much in every single game that I get, everybody wants their game to be fun and replayable. But you want to ask yourself what exactly it is that you want to be in that specific, like what kind of experience, what kind of fun, what kind of replayable. Because like a tic-tac-toe, for example, can be a game that can be fun and replayable, but that's not exactly the kind of experience that you want to deliver, right? It's something a little bit different. This game's a little bit different than tic-tac-toe. So what I'd want to ask then is what makes a shmup replayable and fun? Because obviously you're very into the shmup community, as you told me also in your game submission form. I looked on your Steam page, and sure enough, there's like 60 something reviews. I can't remember. There's a lot of reviews. All of them, except for one, is positive, and they all seem to be, from the shmup community. So it makes sense that that is what you're trying to do here, is trying to create a fun, replayable game in the shmup kind of way. So what makes a shmup fun, and what makes it replayable? And there's a bunch of different things, I think, for me personally, when I'm playing a game like a shmup. The thing that makes it replayable for me is a mixture. I mean, it's a mixture of lots of different things. But the reason why I keep coming back to like arcade ones, for example, is because of the game juice. That's one thing that's super important for me. And it's funny enough, this game actually doesn't have a whole lot of game juice in it. It doesn't have a whole lot of really strong feedback, really strong feelings. Like the art is great, but like it's not over the top, right? And that's what arcade shmups were always about, were just over the top visuals to pull that person right back in. And that was the reason why I keep coming back to them, because you get these over the top weapons, right? Like this beam right here, you can see this is a one big laser beam that you're shooting. In arcade shmups, in fact, let me bring one up real quick. Let's see, like in Pro Gear, perhaps. Let's bring up Pro Gear here. In Pro Gear, we have a crazy amount of stuff going on here. So all those explosions, you can tell, like even the backdrops are like pretty detailed. But these are the kinds of things that I always loved in shmups. One of my favorite games also was that's not listed here. That's where you're running. I can't remember what that one was called, where you're running on the ground. Batsugun is another one that has a lot of game juice in it. You can tell, again, just the bullets, the explosions, just everything is just max, turned up to 11. And if we go up here, look at this laser beam. That's just insane, right? So it's that kind of stuff that always brought me back to these games. The gameplay was pretty weak, but I did like that kind of kind of weak gameplay. So what is going on here? I've got too many videos playing, I think. Oh yeah, they're all open at the same time. I didn't know you could do that. All right, so anyway, so that's the stuff that always brought me back to this kind of stuff. And this kind of game, this game specifically, what brought me back all the time was actually the upgrades, the roguelike elements, which was really interesting. So to me, this is less about being a shmup in my mind, at least, and more about the roguelike experience. And that's what I want to talk about here. So what kind of replayability then do roguelites offer? And in my mind, roguelites have their own kind of draw to them. The idea of randomness in each of your runs, right? A roguelite's a thing that gives you some sort of randomness, either it's in enemy generation or in different kinds of upgrades that you can get, so that there's not an optimal way to play. It's just you have your things and you have to go with them. So one of my favorite roguelites is what is the game? Roguelite? I don't know. They're both kind of the same. One of my favorites is Downwell, which I've talked about so much before. And I made a lot of. I talked a lot about the design in the game. What was it called? One of my other Dev Brew ones. I can't remember. Another shmup. But anyway, what makes that kind of game really interesting to me is I think again the control in that game is so spot on, and it's this kind of experience where you come in, you go into the game, and you know that you're going to face something different each time. I'm also thinking about these titles aren't coming to my mind, man. Let's see, what are these other titles? We have that treasure hunting one, Spelunky, that one. One of my favorite roguelites, something like that. Downwell, and I can't remember another one. Anyway, what's interesting about like Spelunky, when you're going into the cave in Spelunky, you're always going to find something different. It's always going to be a discovery. It's always going to be facing some sort of interesting, weird thing. that you may not have had before. A combination of things: spiders that attack from different areas, finding little traps that might be in almost impossible spaces, and you feel like you have to get rid of them in a certain kind of order. Making sure that your bombs, when you're throwing your bombs, don't bounce around in the in a way that you don't want them to. Something it's always introducing different elements that take on a different experience every time that you play it. Downwell is kind of the same thing, where you go into the game and the progression of enemies are about the same each time, but you never know where they're going to be placed. You don't know when the blocks are going to be placed. So every single time that you play it, it's a different strategic experience. You formulate a different kind of strategy. Now, what makes this a little bit different with shmups is because shmups are played a little bit differently. They're not generally that strategic in a way. They're still strategic, but just in the same way that an action game is strategic. Like Downwell, again, is not as strategic as like a Spelunky. Still an action game, still requires strategy, but in a different way. So in this kind of bullet hell kind of shmup thing that we got going on here, this kind of game, Spelunky, thank you for I just realized my stream's like 20 seconds delayed, but thank you, Frongler, Spelunky, yeah, that was the name I was going for. The elements that make up the randomness in this game is not necessarily giving us a different strategic experience, because most of the stuff that's happening in this game are just bullets flying at us, right? Just bullet hell shmup stuff. And not a lot of that requires a very specific strategy. A lot of it, I mean, there's some weapons, kind of like that one, if you just saw. I don't know if I can rewind this a little bit. There's a lightning bolt weapon up here. And if you see this, let's see if you follow my arrow. Yeah, right there, boom. So that kind of, whoops, let's play that. That kind of attack, varied attacks in different kinds of enemies, those can give you different kinds of strategy that you're, approaching enemies with. And there are different types of, patterns of attacking here. But most of the bullets that are flying towards you are just a barrage of bullets in different kinds of patterns. And the different patterns, again, they do give you a little bit of strategy, but not a whole lot. And so the reason why I bring that up is because when you have a random amount of random generation of enemies here, as this game does, the different types of strategy that is introduced is not that different. There's not a whole lot of different strategy, and I think what that does is it creates a kind of bland experience. It's like bland is a strong word. It's not really a bland experience that it creates, but it's a samey experience, and that's kind of the thing that you said actually in your thing. You said that these levels felt kind of samey. And there was one negative review that had described the game as not in-depth. And I think that's where it comes from. And I think people who love shmups will love just the idea of the mechanics in this game, because it controls really, really well, and it plays really, really well. But the strategy is not that in-depth. So to create, I think, that more in-depth gameplay, I think what you'd want to do is create different kinds of attacking methods. Like I said, I know we already have different types of patterns of attacking and stuff like that, but perhaps experiment with different types of like the lightning bolt, for example. We have the lightning bolt attack, which is different from the bullet attacks, right? That's what I want to see more of. And same with there's an owl in here that dive bombs you every time, and there's also sandworms and fish that jump out of the ocean that don't shoot any bullets. I'd like to see more of that kind of variety in enemy, but not just variety. One thing that I wanted to take away from this was the idea of the skill atom. And unfortunately, I don't have a picture of it right here. Actually, I could bring it up really, really quick. Here we go. This is live, man. Live stuff that I'm doing. I gotta find what I'm doing here, though. Let's see if I can figure this out. All right, we've got my notebook here. I'm looking for game design stuff, game design research. Nope. Oh, yep, here we go. I got it. All right, gameplay loops. Let me see if I can get this guy in here. Making sure I don't have any personal info in here. Okay, we are done with you. You can go away and bring this in here. All right, so this is a gameplay loop, or not a game. Well, it is a gameplay loop. It's a skill atom, what we're known as skill atoms. I have this because it's a really interesting thing to look at, to talk about the types of experiences that you want your game to have. This specific atom was made from Daniel Cook on his blog, I think Lost Garden. Really interesting place. He has an incredible amount of game design stuff there, so that's definitely somewhere you want to look into if you are interested in game design. It's a little deep. It gets a little deep, so it's a little dry. Not like this isn't, right? But the interaction loops are very, very important when it comes to someone who wants to learn the game and is not part of the community that's already involved. So it starts with a decision, right? And the decision is something that the player does, right? Something that looks at something and they figure something out, and then they decide to do it. So for example, if you're playing Mario and you have a gap in front of you as you're running, you look at the gap and you make a decision. The decision is either to try to evade the gap or not try to evade the gap. And then you take action, right? And that's the second one. The second one, you either fall into the gap or you jump over it. Let's say you jump over it. Okay, so then the rules come into play. The rules are that there's gravity in the game, right? So if you fall into the gap, then you'll just die. But if you jump over it, then you'll miss it. And so once you jump over that and you don't die, then that's feedback. If, for example, you do fall into the gap or you miss your jump, then as soon as you go into the pit, then that's feedback. You're dead, and now you've learned something, right? And that's what a skill atom is. And there's a bunch of skill atoms everywhere in all kinds of games. My camera's just resetting there for a second. Let me pull up these gameplay things again. If I can grab my guys here. There we go. Alrighty, so let's get you up and going. Boom. I had a lot of fun, by the way, playing this game. It's a lot of cool, really cool. So the idea of the skill atom is a really interesting idea, and I like the idea of being able to fit that into your game or try to identify where it is that players are learning your game or where it is that players are not learning. That's one of the things that is really interesting when someone gives their game to people and they don't enjoy themselves, is they try to figure out, okay, where is it that you're breaking down, right? Is there a learning process that's being interrupted? And if it is, where is it? So one thing I wanted to talk about specifically about shmups and that kind of idea of the skill atom is in a much more deterministic game. And that game is Geometry Wars. Geometry Wars is one of my absolute favorite games. Man, it's all cropped. Sorry about that. But this is it's a deterministic game, as in it always has the same. I mean, there's some randomness in it, I guess, but it's deterministic in the idea that it always starts out the same way. There's always the same types of enemies that come in the very beginning. Then after that, it starts getting a little bit more random. But the idea here is that we have a skill atom, and I broke this down a little bit. That I don't want to go into the details of it because it's a little too much. But basically, if you see the beginning of this game, it begins with just these purple enemies, these purple little fan. Oh, you can't see that. Come on, here we go. Okay, so if you can see right there, the one that just appeared behind my head, right there, I keep killing him. There we go. Okay, so this guy is a purple enemy here. Whoop. And he's very slow, and he goes toward the ship, but very, very slowly. And then we have the big blue diamond over here, which is the second enemy that's spawned. So after you face fan enemies, I think twice, then they start spawning the blue diamond enemies. And what's happening here is incrementation, right? As the person finds out that they can destroy one enemy and then find out what that enemy is like, then they get a new enemy, and then after that a new enemy, and then multiple of that new enemy, and then it just keeps building and building. And the reason why this is so interesting is because as a player grows that skill, as they keep growing and they start figuring out who's what and what things are more powerful and whatnot, it creates this confidence curve, you could say, in the player. And when you restart the game, instead of having suddenly a different experience completely. You have the same experience, and it keeps getting faster. That first thing keeps getting faster. And I've played geometry boards for years, so that's why I'm killing everything so fast here. But that is the idea here, is that the determinism is allowing us to learn very, very easily. And so it's a little harder when you do that in randomized games. And I know that, what do you call it, is not completely random, the one that we're talking about, Operation Steel. But it does have that, randomness element to it. So yeah, I mean, it's something that's difficult to shape, because it's always different. And the way the way games like Downwell, work and create that skill atom, even though that you still have random stuff, I think it is through levels, basically. And I know this game does have levels too. It's interesting. Actually, I'm not sure about that. I'd like to try to figure that out a little bit more. Let's see. I think that is all of my cards here. That's all I got to talk about, man. How long was that stream? It's only like 30 minutes, bro. I need more stuff to talk about. So I guess that's everything I have to say. Thank you for watching. I feel like I want to talk about, you know what? We can talk about some more stuff, actually. Let's go, just some stuff in here. Specifically, wow, that's fast. I didn't try the novice mode. I'm trying to figure it out, man. I don't know if I have anything. Okay, well, I don't really have anything to say anymore, I guess. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you have comments, obviously you guys can chime in anytime you want. You think I'm wrong about something, think I'm full of it for whatever, you can let me know. I just want to commend this person on this Undermog Games for making a game that's so easy to get into. Like, for me, it felt really, really easy to get into, and I really liked the idea of having a shmup that's that looks simple like this. One of the things that I really like about action games are the ones that have very simple imagery, something that I can just identify very easily and get into it right on. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Oh, I also love there's a mechanic in here where you collect coins, and I think that's really, really interesting. It's like, what was that game, Pro Gear, I think, where you're holding the, what do you call it, button, the shooting button, and then when you let go, then you collect coins. And I love that idea because it gives you context for your shooting button, right? It's not just holding one button forever, because that's what you usually do in shmups. You're actually having strategy to the point of holding the button and letting go of the button. So that's really, really interesting, because there's not a lot of games that I know that make a lot of that put any emphasis on letting go of a button. So really good stuff. The tutorial in here, which I don't have, I mean, I do have recorded, but it's on my other computer, unfortunately. The tutorial in here was really really simple, really easy. I loved how stepped out it was. Really, really simple. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. So thank you so much for tuning in. The game link is at the bottom, so if you'd like to play this game, it's there. It's about $15, but I do believe they have a demo. You can try it to see if it's for you. Really enjoy this. I'm going to try to be doing these streams regularly from now on. There's going to be every other Wednesday, and I'll see if that's something I can stick to. This is my third stream, so just trying to still get a feel for everything. So if you like this, let me know, and yeah, we'll keep doing it. So yeah, I'll see you guys